let's say you're ready to have sex again. What do you do with your baby? This is the question that every parent must face. And for some, it is quite simple, and for others, it may feel more complicated. In the first months of life, some babies sleep well independently, while others struggle to stay asleep without constant touch. And in addition, every family has a different level of access to privacy and certain sleep arrangements. Some people don't feel comfortable having sex near their sleeping baby or even in the same room. And it's important to remember that you must feel comfortable in order to have a fulfilling sexual experience. And if you're struggling emotionally with the logistics of the setup, you may not be able to be present with your partner. I also want to add that in my opinion, having sex in the same room as a sleeping infant is perfectly appropriate. Honestly, they probably had a better idea of what was going on when they were inside of you compared to sleeping away from you in the same room. So to take it one step further, people who have a large bed may feel comfortable having sex while the baby is on the other side of the bed. The truth is there is no right or wrong way to do it so long as your baby is safe and you feel safe and comfortable with the arrangement. Having sex while your baby is in the same room as you may not be as exciting as sex before your baby's arrival, because parents often choose to be quiet and slow and still as possible to avoid waking their baby. The first sexual encounters may feel best in a slow and gentle container anyway. However, some couples may desire more freedom to express themselves sexually outside the confines of a sleeping baby's room. So being able to have sex is one thing, but being able to have sex freely without holding back is another. So I encourage you to get creative, to honor your sexuality and intimacy despite the many realities of life with a small human that may sway you to do otherwise. It is easy for parents to become comfortable with having sex much less or not at all, or significantly limiting their sexual expression due to a lack of privacy or logistical difficulties. Sharing a household with a baby can have such a big impact on that part of our lives. They are so tiny, and yet they seem to take up the entire house. But there are so many ways to express and honor your sexuality even after having a baby. But it may require putting in a little extra effort. The spontaneity of life without a baby may have made sex much easier, and now it may seem like there's never a good moment. And that brings me to my first and favorite tool, which is scheduling. So you may be thinking, wait a minute, we're not becoming those people who schedule sex. Those people are old and boring. Well, I may be old and boring, but I'm also having sex. But can you really imagine wanting to have sex at the drop of a hat now that the baby is finally asleep after a day of constant nursing and diaper changes? You probably smell bad and your nipples are sore. So I would say, no thanks, count me out. But now think about this. What if you created the conditions for sex to align? You've held awareness throughout the day, which may have gently stoked the sexual fire, and perhaps you started the day off with an extra long kiss and a gentle booty pat before your partner headed off to work. Perhaps knowing that the opportunity for connection would come that evening motivated you in ways that you otherwise wouldn't have felt. And when the time comes, you may still feel touched out and tired from the day, but at least you two have carved out space to connect and be together. Another benefit to scheduling sex is the ability to schedule the logistics of the day to support your sex having window. A well-loved method is to hire a nanny. It may feel a little weird to ask your parents to take the baby on an hour-long walk in the stroller once a week. Getting the baby out of the house for a set amount of time may give you the freedom you need to have a fulfilling sexual experience. And in addition, having sex during the day may feel easier, as trying to have sex at the tail end of the day when you're both exhausted may not be as satisfying. But what's really important to remember is that even if you schedule sex, that doesn't mean that you're obligated to have sex. Scheduling sex is about creating an opportunity together to connect and share intimacy. And it starts with emotional connection, touching each other and cuddling each other, just talking and doing what feels good and just honoring what feels good. But in that environment, we've created the conditions for sex to actually be more possible than it was when you're like busy with the baby at the end of the day and you weren't even thinking about sex, and now all of a sudden sex is on the table and you're like, I don't know about that.